Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Landon here, back with another cut commentary, of course. Um, the last video actually I made did decently well, so I wanted to see if this video would do well also. Kind of wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind for the past couple of nights. I was thinking about while playing this, um, the gameplay, but I guess um, being like a bully as an adult or like judging people and like, talking shit, just being a toxic individual. So I'd go into like I guess like like being a teenager and a kid, but I like ultimately feel like that's like a different because you're kind of less developed. So I was once a bully. Um, it was because I was, but it's not an excuse. Obviously, I grew up being nice and kind to everyone, no matter what. And then after a while, I kind of just started diverting to an asshole. And even like recently, like even last year, like I was kind of still being like not a bully, but like when I was like with these friends, especially at my job, like they were always talking shit about this one guy who worked by himself, and I would always chime in and have something to say, and it took a lot of realization to like be out of that friend group and like not around them toxic people to realize that like they were doing the same shit to me because I ended up being working by myself at the same place like months prior to that. And I figured that they probably did the same shit. And then when I fell off with them, it was kind of clear that they didn't really fuck with me. So even as I'm almost 22, and I kind of realized when I was 20 that hey, I need to like walk the fuck in and change. And you still got people that are like in their 30s and 40s, late 20s, and they've not even realized this. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not to say that like anyone that is like this can change, not change or whatever, because it's possible. Like change is possible. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like I went from some like fucking demon to some holy god. Like I'm not perfect. I fuck up. I still fuck up, but I have like definitely a better mindset on how I want to be towards people and how I want to be treated. And the golden rule, we learn in schools to treat others how you want to be treated. And it's like never actually like no one even really gives a fuck about it. Never hear anything about it. It's kind of like a dead saying, but I mean it's like kind of facts though. And even if people are treating you like shit, bro, I don't know how many people have treated me like shit or just been weird, and I kind of just let them by. I just whatever, because karma exists, and I'm not gonna you know go out of my way to hurt someone's feelings or even judge or just be a dick. I'm not gonna walk up to someone and say some fucked up shit to them like people will do to me. I don't care. You know what I mean? And definitely like being around friends and shit like that have them toxic mindsets. Like if you want to change, like and learn how to treat others the way you want to be treated, like you gotta like separate yourself from that. And I'm not saying you don't need to be friends with them because that's kind of what I did. I just kind of completely cut myself off from friend groups and people that I know are just I'm not a good person, but they're like way fucking worse than me, like judging people, talking shit, bad morals, no actual goals, ambitions, nothing. It's just miserable. And obviously that's kind of just not even really the person I want to be, obviously. So, after cutting them off, and recently I've got off some people anyways, but sometime early, like several months ago, I kind of was just like I had this revelation, like what I mean, like I gotta be nice, I gotta treat others how I want to be treated, because like when I was a kid, when I was younger, I was like such a nice person, and I got taken advantage of, and I just ended up turning on the values that I had, and growing up made me realize that it's just not even the way to be, and I don't want to be fucking like a miserable ass person and make people miserable. You know what I mean? Because like it just creates a cycle, bro. It creates a cycle of hatred, like, and people don't think that's real, but it is. Like if you hate on somebody and you just hate them and all that, and you're making their life hell for no reason, you know, eventually they're just gonna get tired of it and then just want to make other people's lives hell because, you know, they want an outlet, right? And so then it keeps up that cycle. So, you know, if you're in a shitty friend group, you know, with some shitty ass people, or, you know, shitty ass work situation, or you're just a shitty person, like, you gotta evaluate yourself, look in the mirror, and think, like, is this how I want to be treated by somebody? And a lot of people don't look in the mirror or look at themselves or think or self-evaluate themselves or even are self-aware. You know, when I'm an asshole to someone, I'm kind of self-aware of it and I feel bad and end up apologizing and trying to make this shit better. Like, a lot of people will just say something to you and then move on about it and act like it just never hurt your feelings and never was just fucking disrespectful. And then when you do something, it's like the biggest deal in the world. But, you know, what they did is kind of just, you know, and you get it. So, that's all I can really say. I wanted to make this kind of quick. Didn't want to really bore anybody, but I think this is kind of like a message that I don't really see people talking about for some reason. You know, it's kind of sad. It's kind of just like people will experience like being treated like shit, and it's like no one wants to really stand up for it or talk about it. But, you know, I know how it feels, and I know how it feels to want to change and to want to be a better person. And, you know, if you feel that way, you know what I mean, you know, you gotta do that, you know, regardless of how anyone thinks. You know, you gotta make your life good, and you gotta always, always, always treat others how you want to be treated. And you gotta remember that. Treat others how you want to be treated. So that's all I gotta say, but I hope y'all have a good day. And adios, amigos.